Hey, all right, let's get into it, baby. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Um, all right, all right, great. Okay, guys. I hope you guys are having a great afternoon today. I hope you're having a great day. Um, grab a pen and paper. I think you should grab a pen and paper if you can. You may want to take a couple notes just for some things for you to plan out your 2025 with taking action, because the reality is, you can stay forever in I'm finna do, I'm about to do, I'm praying about it. Or you can just be one of those people that are like, hey, I'm going to just stay open to all the amazing possibilities, right? And so that's what we're about to do today, is get into the possibilities and bring on a good friend of mine and business partner who's also mentored me in some areas in real estate. But everything that I've learned, a lot I've learned is through good mentorship and just doing it, right? Because there are so many people that just don't really recognize the sense of now. They don't really honor now. They don't honor urgency. And so they end up having a string of missed opportunities because everything is put off or delayed until later, right? And so I hope that this session helps to ignite you, right, Keita? Ignite you, inspire you, and really help you to start a course of January the right way. I think how you start a thing is very important. I've started off very, very strong. I've been extremely productive. I pray you've been extremely productive, like every single day of January. I've been very intentional about what are the things that I want to accomplish. So I'm going to pray, then we'll jump into it. Father, we thank you, Lord, right now for all the abundance that's around us, all the abundance that is for us, all the abundance that is working toward us. And God, I thank you that we have a greater sensitivity to the abundance. We have a greater sensitivity to opportunities, and that we seize the moment, we take action, we maximize our potential every single day in every way. God, I thank you that all the decisions that we're making move us towards great advancement and great expansion. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. All right, cool. So let me go ahead and bring on my brother Phil. Hey, Phil, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I know you up in the D. It's cold, right?
Yes. It's that there. It's not single digits cold, but it feel like it.
I feel like it. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cold for us. It's definitely cold for us. The pool turns on, the fountain turns on automatically when it gets cold, even if I'm not running it, just because it doesn't want to freeze. So I'm like, anytime that's running, I know what it is. But listen, I'm glad you were able to take a minute to get on here. We're only going to be on here probably for about 25 minutes or so. But I wanted to just kind of come on here and kind of have a conversation. You've been very pivotal in helping me to build a very successful real estate portfolio. We've been able to help each other. I've been able to help you in some areas. You've been able to help me. And I would say that a big part of success is having the right relationships. Even right now, we're in the middle of doing a deal, right? Right now, we're able to offer to one of my other certified clients that I'm super excited about. Because I think a lot of times when people think real estate, they think that everything has to be perfect. They got to have the perfect credit. They got to have capital. And it's just simply not true. You've been doing real estate investing longer than I have. Talk about some of the creative deals that you're seeing happen. Both you and I have a heart to help. I really want to see people that look like me. Definitely want to see women, and particularly move into this space. And I know you've been in a lot of rooms where you've been like the only person of color, possibly with no women at all. And again, we want to change that narrative. I guess talk about because investing in real estate it does take mental toughness. That's A.
Yeah,
and
that's
B and
that's good
C, right?
again. You can say that,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
listen, it takes mental toughness. And then I also think that it takes the right community so that you don't drown, and you can kind of go from deal to deal to deal. So kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, you already said a couple of really great things. You talked about the who, not the how. So the network, your relationships, critically important because sometimes you may have a huge path of I don't know in front of you, and it may seem like I got to take 1,000 steps or I got 10,000 hours, but having the right who will can make that problem go away instantly. So that's where mentorship or partnerships. That's why these things are so important. Initially, you asked me about creative deals. So here's the thing with real estate. No matter what's really happening in the market, yes, there are times where it's better to do one thing versus the other, where one is going to flourish more. But when you have, I call it the right tools in your tool belt, you're able to identify what's happening in the market and basically take full advantage of those. So specific, like I'm not going to go over all the details, but even the deal we were talking about today, that's a creative deal where someone is actually able to basically come in and have ownership of an asset that's worth 200,000, and they're bringing in a fraction of that. Okay, and you're like, well, how does that and not and without banks, right? Without using credit, without so there's ways for these different for these type of deals to happen. So I'm not sure how savvy everyone here on the call is listening, but you got deals like seller financing where the seller will finance you and be the bank. You got subject to financing where you take over someone else's financing, and there's a lot of different things in between as well to be able to make money. But the biggest piece, like those are tactical things, and you can learn that. That's stuff that you can look up. And I got this spreadsheet, and I've learned how to do it. And even when you have the tactics, it's usually a lot easier, a lot better when you got somebody that's been there, done that, who's going to walk you through to say, hey, don't do this step, don't do that step. It's very pivotal for me. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the game. You're still always learning. So relationships are probably the most important thing that you said. But there's a lot of different type of deal types out there, and there's no real reason to like that was other than you mentioned perfection, right? So sometimes a lot of times done is better than perfect because that was like a natural thing for me at a point where I was suffering from analysis paralysis, where you're trying to make sure everything is perfect, make sure you got all these plans laid perfectly right, just so that when you start, all those plans can go to hell or go to crap, and you start over and you're trying to figure out what to do anyway, right? And I'm not saying no planning is necessary, but success typically rewards action takers. And that's just just the way it seems this universe works, right? Where the more action you're taking, you start to build momentum. Certain opportunities start to come to you. People start to come into your life to make things easier. You start to see different things. So it's really about getting momentum on yourself, really, and not allowing that to hold you back. Sometimes it may be a very small step, but that momentum picks up, right?
That's important, right? Because I
Mhm.
noticed that with very savvy investors like yourself, myself, we're always, and you can come in and be a beginner with this too. We're always usually going from deal to deal, Maxine. It's not like I did this deal a year ago, right? It's like, no, I did a deal a month ago. And then last week I'm working on the deal. Like you're always in the middle of a deal. I was watching this guy. I don't know if he's officially a billionaire or not, but he sells private jets to billionaires. And Ben and I were watching him the other night. It was really good. His name, I think, is Steve Versano, and real smooth brother and white guy, and probably maybe 60s, 70s. But he was talking about, they were interviewing him and they were asking him about his day. And so anyway, they when they were asking about the day, they said, he basically started talking about how he's either working on a deal, trying to save a deal, or resurrect a deal that seemed dead, trying to resurrect it, right? So he said, I'm either resurrecting deals, creating deals, putting fires out in the middle of a deal. And so that's really the key, which is why I think the mental toughness part is so important, because it sounds like all sexy and cool. But you gotta I always tell
100%.
people that's some thug, you know what I mean? because deals, but the end goal is going to be very profitable, which is why I usually see these people have, large net worths because they had what it took to deal with the deals dying and resurrecting them and not breaking down, but breaking through. So I know even the deal you helped me with, can you believe it's been a couple years ago already now? That which we're working
Wow.
on the deal today, but it was another deal a couple years ago. I mean, I was just like at my wits' end with the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was at their wits' end,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Okay, send over this, okay, send over that, and I just kept working through, and I had to keep the end in mind, which was the acquisition, right? And not
100%.
get caught up in this is on my nerves or this. Actually, you saved that deal for me. I appreciate it because I could have ended up losing a large amount of money had you not stepped in and said, hey, she's good for it. Just, kind
Yeah.
of hold on. So I guess talk about that because I want everybody that's listening to start investing in real estate. If you haven't, I think it's very, very important. Oh, I got to say this too. So let me say it like this. So I have someone that we know retired really, really well, but they didn't invest in real estate along the way and they were making a lot of money. And then they decided, hey, I'm going to retire. Well, guess what? They're going back to network marketing. There's nothing wrong with network marketing. I love network marketing. I've made multiple millions in network marketing. I have tons of respect for people that do it. I did it for years and it was amazing. And so I have nothing bad to say about it. But this is what I learned, that if I'm going to get to a point where I'm not always having to build a team or work or push this or push
Yes.
that, I've got to be investing along the way and get my rental income equal to whatever my income from my salary at a job or my business is making, so that eventually I can get to a point that I can, not necessarily retire, but I don't have to go as hard because I built a nice portfolio. Well, can you kind of talk about real estate and the long game? Because I think it's a really important conversation for people to push through and keep going, even though it's not necessarily the easiest thing.
It's not and you said it right. It's not the easiest thing because what is it? Someone said this to me. Said, "Here, I'll give you the key to become a millionaire in real estate. Hurry up and buy real estate and wait 10 years." Right? And and I say that a little bit tongue in cheek, but it's definitely partially true. And but the thing is, everybody wants now. I want to. This is where I want to be, and I want to be there tomorrow. I want to be there in a few months, and that actually ends up causing you not to actually get there because you're looking for. It's like a gamble. Where investing is not necessarily like you're not looking to gamble. You're looking to invest and grow. Like you said, some really I was actually kind of just digesting it. You actually said some really good things as far as like you talking about the long term game of real estate because obviously you got. So I'm just gonna go over benefits. So you got appreciation, depreciation, and taxes, and all these different things that are gonna allow you to grow wealth, but you end up growing slowly in that case. So it's not sexy, right? But here's the thing, like billionaires and like the top people, they love boring businesses, right? Something that's just boring. It's not sexy. It's not like, oh look, I just did this sexy thing, and you got sexy deals. You're like, man, I can't believe we did this or we did that. Those do come across, but a lot of times in business, boring is good when it's like, oh yeah, this is all I do. It's simple and it's repeatable, and it's a lot. It's a lot of that happens because unfortunately, as you mentioned, you got people that make a lot of money. They're doing something, whether it's at a job or they're actively doing, and they get to a point where you quote unquote retire. I believe that you shouldn't be retiring just personally, that you should do something you love so you never want to retire. But you get to that point where you're going to slow things all the way down, and it's like, well, where's that residual? And real estate is very powerful when it comes to to having that, because and this one thing I want to talk about from like wealth generation and just from a cash flow perspective. When we talk about retiring, sometimes especially in our community, there's a inherence to say, okay, I stop and money keeps coming in, and that's what we're talking about with passive cash flow. But what I really want to drive the point I really want to drive home is the fact that like with the you don't have to stop doing real estate. You know what I mean? You don't have to make real estate your full thing. If you can maybe 30, 40, 50 years old right now, you go out and start buying houses, 2 houses a year, get you a couple duplexes. You don't have to do anything super crazy. with the right coaching behind you, definitely 2 houses a year very doable. But let's say you're doing 2 houses a year for the next 5, 10 years. I mean, that's 10, 20 houses. And all of a sudden, that's not money that you have to do like anything for. It's only gonna be able to help you. Okay. It's not like you have to, well, I'm 65 now. I guess I can't buy any more houses. No, you got the knowledge there. And guess what? The more you know, the more you grow, you start delegating to people around you. So, I mean, 2 houses a year, that's, I don't know, maybe you're doing an hour worth of work a week. So it don't matter if you're 70, 80 years old. Look at Warren Buffett. Look at, rest in peace, Charlie Munger. They 90 years old and they worked all the way up. And you think they were going because I had to work? Not when you got $20 billion literally sitting in a bank account, but they're 90 years old still working because in their mind they're doing what they love, but also what's paying them out. It doesn't take much time for them. Work
Yeah.
is, so
Yeah,
um,
that's good. So, okay, so let's talk about that, the long game, because we are definitely in a world where everybody wanted like now, 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 fast, fast, fast. And I remember we had a conversation one time. I don't know if this is interview style or what we were doing, or just might have been on the phone or whatever. And we were talking about stabilizing a property,
mm,
right?
mhm,
Because of course, when you buy property, you want to be able to, ideally, in some cases, people will buy a property. Let's just talk about buy and hold for a minute. You buy a property, you're thinking, okay, I got to rehab it, I got to put tenants in it, or I got to buy a property and maybe not fix it up. Maybe we have tenants in there already that are paying. But I think to understand that it's going to be work. Like I think sometimes people just think, okay, even if I buy this cash flowing property, or even if I buy this, buy and flip. We were planning on it, taking 2 months, but now it's taking 4. I think you almost have to anticipate, keep your focus on the end goal, but anticipate there may be some challenges that come up along the way. But when you kind of talk about there's always an answer, that's what I love. If I don't know the answer, there have been times I call you like, hey, okay, this is a scenario. How do you think we should split this? Or I may call somebody else. There's a network of us. And so again, this is why we created Esatate, because I know and if you're gonna be for real in this thing, it's dangerous to have a mindset of I'm just gonna jump into it. Like,
mhm,
no, you
mhm.
can end up really hurting yourself.
Definitely. And the level of thinking that creates the problem is not the level of thinking that's going to solve the problem. And this is why you have mentors or even just a community around you, because you don't have to be, somebody doesn't have to be 20 steps ahead of you to just give you a different perspective. And it's like, oh, I didn't think about doing it this way, or I didn't think about that idea to help you get around those problems. So the community is definitely important. And obviously having someone that's 10 steps ahead there as well is equally important. But there's a, yeah, man, real estate will. And you said again, you said you hitting a lot of the key points here. Initially, you mentioned just kind of jumping in and doing stuff. Not only that, like, because it could physically hurt you, but definitely financially hurt you, but in a way that you may not know. Because typically, like, I'll just be straight about it. If you go into something and you like, hey, I'll figure it out. I'm giddy up and go. I don't need the mentorship. I don't need to learn. I'm just gonna figure out as I go. You can 100% be successful doing that just because you're taking action. Like I said earlier, the universe rewards action. But getting to what you consider success, nobody said it had to be difficult. Or, I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm not saying it has to be as hard. If you go into something trying to literally reinvent the wheel or figure it all out on yourself, on your own, you're gonna bump your head so many times, which a lot of people, just be frank, once they bump their head a few times, even if it's not that hard, it makes them real estate didn't work and they quit. And then you got some people who, maybe like me, are enough to, keep going, crazy enough to just keep going. I bumped my head, that hurt. Let me keep going anyway. But then you run the risk of bumping your head really hard and then maybe knocking yourself out. And you just taking risks for no reason. Whereas if this is the path, I'm gonna see if I can do this. Like you got a path that's going this way, right? And let's say this is 0% and 100% is over here. You 100% don't have to start at zero. No pun intended. You can start 25% with somebody. You can start 50, 75. You can get really close to the end. And when you do that, even with a mentor, let's say you got a mentor that's going to say, look, I'm going to give you everything. I'm going to give you, you're 85% of the way there. I just need you to finish the last 15%. You're still going to bump your head because you got your own learning to go through. something that your mentor probably made too easy. That's probably the only downside I see of a mentor, because they give it to you so straightforward, where they're like, hey, this is just do this. Everything is easy. And you're like, oh, okay, this is it. And then you actually miss some gaps because they just said do it this way. So I always do it this way. And then later something happens where, well, maybe we don't have to do it that way. Maybe I could do it this way. And then you find out like, oh, that's why she said do it this way, because
Mm,
but you didn't have the history. Your mentor had that learning, bumped
mm,
their head 10 times and came
mm,
up with do it this way and just told you, hey, listen, do it this way. Right. But sometimes that's the that's literally the only negative thing I've seen, where you just think it's too easy, or like I got something better. And sometimes you do. I'm not saying you don't, but sometimes you think you got something better, you do it a different way, and you find out like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because you can end up having unrealistic expectations. I was
Mm,
literally talking to somebody and they were like, saying, I'm not going to tell, I don't know if you want to tell your investor this. And I appreciated that. I really did. But I was like, no, I'm telling them because I'm not going to do them a disservice by keeping it from them as though this doesn't happen in the world of investing. Like
yeah.
you and I both know
Mhm.
anybody that's investing for any amount of time, everybody got a story. I've never met an investor who's just like, yeah, I have a, 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure portfolio and it was all perfect. No, as a matter of
Straight up.
fact,
Just kept going. Yeah.
the bigger your portfolio, you're probably spending more time with creative solutions, right? Even if it's with your team. It's
Mhm.
okay, this didn't work. What about this? We were going to bring on that person, but they couldn't do that person. I had I was in general contracting school a couple of weeks ago, and the guy that was my teacher built a new center
Mm.
area. He was like one of the GCs over that. And he was saying how when they started digging the foundation, then they ran into issues with the concrete, the machine, the depth and the width. And I mean, he went through, it was so good. He went through all the issues. And he said, then I was getting into it with another superintendent. And then we were going back and forth with codes. And
Mm.
I mean, it was just one issue after the other. But when people go to New Center, they're like, oh, this is so beautiful. Oh my God.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
You know,
That's how it
and
works.
it's how it works. So, but had I not known that there were all those issues, I could just look at it and think, oh, that's amazing. So it's a really smart way in to start off with a single family, start off with a duplex. But I think you got to start. I think there's something to be said about the power of now. How many opportunities
100%.
do you think are missed because people just procrastinate, period?
Oh, I mean, I don't think you can calculate it, because even when you make decisions on taking decision, I'm going to do something now, you still got opportunity cost of all the other stuff that you could have done. It's just at least you're being more intentional, right? So that's best case scenario. You're going to say, all right, I'm going to do something and stick to it. But if you're in a boat of procrastination of I'm not going to do anything, like you can only go backwards from doing that, because you're still losing time, right? If you stand still for a year thinking about something, maybe I'm gonna try this. Well, guess what? Next year, I'm in the same boat next year. No, you're actually further behind, because it's been a year. You just haven't moved, but the world is continue to go, continue to go. It's yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're hitting a lot of key points today. Power now. I think it's actually a book too, but it's a lot of power in just making a decision and taking action. I think that's the main point to drive home here.
Yeah. Taking action, keeping it moving, connecting. And so, listen, I'm glad you jumped on here. I got
Mm.
a spa appointment. I know you got to go take care of some precious little ones over there. But yeah, I'm glad we jumped on here. I just wanted to come on just to encourage everybody. Like, it's 7 days already in January.
Mm.
And I believe how you start a thing is how you finish it. And I think that, which is why I don't like to overeat, because some people are still just shaking off from eating too much. Like, I just want to stay on focus, because it's going to be hard to get to your dreams and your goals with too much wrong thinking and not enough action. You got to figure it out. We literally are helping someone do a deal today. It doesn't matter what her credit is, right? Doesn't matter what her
100%.
credit is. She's in the game,
Yep.
and she's going to be up from it. So my point is that everybody, I hope that you're on here, you're listening, Phil's been doing this for a good minute.
Yeah, too long now, right?
For a good minute, and doing well, but it's not always easy, but it's highly beneficial. If you can just hold on, it's highly, highly beneficial. And you got to get with people that have your answers. So, Phil, any last words? I want you to deal a little bit before we wrap with our sisters, because you already know it's not a lot of, and I guess it's not that many women in it just because of the mental toughness that it takes. Is that what you would say? Maybe.
I I don't know what it is, to be honest, because I mean the women that are in it are usually the most mentally tough, or they do like really big things to the point you're like, wow. I don't that's a part of it, but I wouldn't say more so than anyone else. I don't know. You just got certain industry like it doesn't take much physical. Maybe it's perceived as the physical side of it, like you got to go out and swing hammers and stuff. But it's male dominated. I'm not sure, but I'll say this. Like again, so to all the women, my sisters out there, if you like that's actually a superpower, right? Because when you walk in a room, some people look at, well, I'm the only woman in here, but some people look at it like I'm the only woman in here. Let me show you, what time it is, because I've talked to some whatever, black, white, or whatever, but like some ladies where I'm like, man, she knows what she doing over here. Like she's making stuff happen, and y'all actually have a lot of a different approach than I think a way like men typically think about going about a certain problem. But the point is that's actually the reason why I say that's a superpower is because I mean, just even tactically, like you talking about sales negotiation, talking to sellers and stuff like that. Um, it's y'all got a way. I'll just put it that way. You got a really y'all got a really good way. You know what I mean? I'm saying that's proof in the pudding. That doing deals, it's like, man, we've been trying to get this seller for so long to do something, and all of a sudden, she hops on, and it's like, well, I got that done. It's like, dang. So, but point is, you got women, you got a special way about you in general about approaching these problems. But because you are even a smaller minority, and you're already a minority because you're women, certain opportunities are available where you start talking about grants and bank funding and things like that. It's a lot of things that's out here that will support that. I don't want to like it's for everyone, doesn't matter what you are, but specifically you should not look at it, I think, any industry and say, oh, I can't do that because it's male dominated. I think that's just a way for you to stand out even more, so when you actually start doing something and doing well at it, people are going to take notice, like, wait a second, you doing this? With who? You doing what? Because a lot of people, like I said earlier, a lot of people do think that if you say real estate, they think you swinging hammers all day. So you go around and say, well, I flipped 5 houses in the last year or something like that. They looking like, you? Like, yeah, that's what. How many hammers you swing? I ain't swing not one hammer. You know what I mean? But
Well, we
but
get a
it's
chance to boss a lot of guys around. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
that's a part of it too.
Partly kidding, partly true.
Yeah.
No, that's good. And I think that's the thing. I want women to know that this is a space for them. And, your hubby may want to get involved. He may not. I always tell women, respect your yes and respect his no. If he wants to do it, great. If he doesn't want to do it, it's okay too. But I think for you not to do it and you really instinctively want to is a sad thing, because it could have end up changing the whole trajectory of your entire family. Phil, listen, it's always good, brother, having chopping it up with you. We got to get back on here next week and have some more conversation. If you're thinking about joining the community, stop thinking, take the action, respect the urgency that you're getting in your spirit right now, and take action. Thanks again, Phil, for getting on here. Everybody have a great afternoon, and let us help you start building that real estate empire. All right, bye, everybody. See you later.